Every single time I click on the graphic of the new uniforms or the alt uniforms for the upcoming season, fit for old DC, I'm getting the celebratory balloons. Is everybody else getting that? Every single time I click on to that, I get that. Don't you usually only get the celebratory balloons once? I don't know. Yeah, feels celebratory. Yeah. Look, my feelings on the new alt uniforms, the threads look great. Congratulations to everybody out there that had anything to do with this. It's really, for me, another indication that we have an organization who understands the past, understands the fan base, present, past. Obviously, I think if they could, they would make it, a grand slam by, bringing back the old name, but that's not going to happen. And my discussion of it yesterday, man, it pissed some of you off. This from Nathaniel. Nathaniel wrote, Kevin, heard your rant on radio today, meaning yesterday, about Redskins never coming back. So much for it's not over till it's over. I didn't take you for a quitter. I'm tremendously disappointed. There were a lot of those yesterday. What I said yesterday is just how I feel, and I think it's just a fact. It's not that I like it, but this thing's been over for a while. You're not going to tell a $26 billion industry where the likes of Nike and FedEx and Amazon and Apple and Anheuser-Busch and Pepsi and, all of these big corporate sponsors that, and by the way, Fox, CBS, NBC, ESPN, Netflix, Amazon, etc. You're not going to bring unnecessary controversy to that partnership. You're just not. I'm sure Josh and Mark Ein and Mitchell Rails would love to fight that fight. They don't have a choice in it. If the name had never gone, it would still be here. In fact, it would still be here in an environment, honestly, in 2025, where the pushback would be barely heard. But that horse left the barn. And any further conversation about bringing back the old name, I just think it's a, stop digging situation. It ain't happening. So what they have control over, they've nailed, I think, with these uniforms. 301-230-0980, 301-230-0980. Weaving past and present, the tweet read with the still picture of Jaden and Ertz and Jeremy Reeves are the three players in uniform. That is Ertz, right? Yeah, that's Ertz. And that's Reeves with Jaden right in the middle. With, by the way, in the background, a shot of RFK Stadium. Weaving past and present, we're adding back the Super Bowl era threads to our uniform rotation. If you're just joining us, they will be wearing them for 3 games. The Seattle Sunday night game on November 2nd at home, the Denver Sunday night game at home on November 30th. That's Thanksgiving weekend. And then on Christmas Day against the Cowboys at home. They are, I think, allowed up to 4. We don't have a definitive, conclusive answer on this, right, Max? Or do we?
I don't think we have any official confirmation of when they go or if they're going to use the black uniforms at all this year, but hopefully we get some before the season.
Okay, remind me. I can text somebody during the break to find out if they had up to 4 and they decided not to use them, or with the 4th they're going to use black, or I'm hoping that they're saving that 4th for a playoff game. That would have been laughable in years past. Yeah, no, we're saving the 4th alternate uniform for the playoffs. It's not laughable anymore. All right, let's start with my guy Chad in Nashville. Chad, go ahead.
Kevin, thanks for taking my call, brother.
Sure, Chad.
Dude, man, that puts such a big smile on my face. It's been 5 years since 2020. And that was one of the roughest times of my life, honestly, just because of not the name change, but everything else going on. And then the name change on top of it. People don't know what we as a fan base went through. If you were not a fan of this team, which was a huge fan base, you don't understand it. Having these uniforms back is definitely a step towards bringing back some of that fan base. I have one complaint. You bringing up Nike, you bringing up Adidas, you bringing up everything happened and that monster of a man that destroyed this franchise. If you really were talking about money, $26 billion, you want to sell some more uniforms, and this will sell uniforms.
That's not what I'm talking about, though, Chad.
No, I know that. I know that.
I'm talking about those corporations, their shareholders, and their customers, and whether they have the information to feel the way they feel or not, because most of them do not, and they don't understand the complexity of the conversation around the team name. It's how they consume that would scare and concern those big corporate sponsors. The NFL would never allow it.
I agree. Okay, but here's the thing. We are equating, you said it before, we equate the name with the logo, right? I feel like it was such a big opportunity. Yes, they did the uniforms for the future and the past to merge them. You're telling me you couldn't have put that signature feather that's always been there. You couldn't put that anywhere on the uniform. I really just wish they would get asked more, and I know they don't care. I'm worried about winning football. That's what I'm worried about. This uniform is awesome, but why can we not have some part of the old logo with our...
You know what, Chad? I don't think that is, out of the question. I don't think the logo is dead. I think there's a chance. Maybe not this year with alts. Maybe it's next year with alts or next year with permanent or whatever. I don't think the logo was never, ever a source of any controversy at all. There was never any allegation of insensitivity or racism or anything that no one had an issue with the logo. Of course, the name isn't necessarily the right fit for the logo permanently, but do I think that it's appropriate to bring the logo back in some way, shape, or form? I 100% do. And do I think that it'll happen? I would lean in the direction of, at some point, the logo, they've already said the logo is going to be a part of things within the stadium, right? Like there are certain things in the stadium that will bear the logo, and that was sort of the conversation between Senator Daines's office and Ryan Wetzel, the grandson, and the team. So I'm not discounting that. But look, for today, pulling up that picture and seeing the team that I rooted for in uniform, beautiful. I just wish they were wearing them in all 17 this year. But it's a process.
Thanks, Kevin.
Yeah.
Thanks, Kev.
Thanks, Chad. Appreciate it. Let's go to Cam. Cam in Northeast. Cam, go ahead. Thanks for holding.
Yeah, no problem. What's up, Kevin? So here's my hot take, and I feel like I'm going to be the minority, and I actually said the same thing on Rooster's show last week. I'm only 32, but I am a lifelong fan, born and raised. Parents went to games at RFK. I had season tickets for like 10, 15 years at FedEx, including the 2005 season. I've never felt an emotional attachment to the name or the uniforms. And on top of that, I actually don't mind. I think the Commanders uniforms are dumb, but I think they're dumb not because they're not Redskins. I think they're dumb because they're just three different sets of uniforms. And I'm actually not opposed to Nike or whoever the next uniform partner is going to be moving away from, the 20th century uniform template, which is just, like us, the Packers, et cetera, even the old Cowboys uniforms, just sleeve stripes, just leg stripes. So yeah, I'm with you. The uniform, I like that they're going back to the old look because I just think there's no consistency or anything cohesive between the three current uniforms. Yeah. But at the same time, I don't necessarily love the simplicity. Like I don't like them just because they're Redskins. Like I have no problem with Nike.
You said it Cam. You said it at the beginning, and I totally appreciate and respect that. Of the people look, it's not everybody in the fan base, past and present. It has been a significant majority of the fan base, both past and present, but it's skewed towards the older fan in terms of the emotional attachment for obvious reasons. During your lifetime, they were never good. There was, even though you followed them and you were devoted to them, the memories were different. It's interesting because I am certainly not one of those that thinks that it's just older people who care about this and younger people don't, because I have 3 boys and I spend time with not only them, but in many cases, many of their friends. And a lot of them have been, very sensitive to this whole conversation and have wanted it back and have wanted these uniforms. I'm on a text thread this morning with my boys, and I know that they're really excited about what they saw this morning. They love that. But it's, I think part of that also may be because of the way I have felt my entire life, and the way some of their friends' fathers or significant people in their lives have felt. So there are reasons, but there's no doubt that of the fan base that has been around for a while, let's just say 2 decades plus, the majority have cared about these issues clearly, and the polling's indicated that. Their own internal polling has indicated that. But of that majority, the majority of that have been older fans, no doubt. 45 and older, more likely than not. That would be my guess. If you're 45 years old, you were born in 80, and that means you legitimately remember at least 2 of the 3 Super Bowl seasons. Let's go to Ryland. Ryland, go ahead.
Morning, Kev. What a day, buddy. What a day. Like you mentioned, I was actually going to bring up the logo with you, but like you say, like, why not bring that back and incorporate it? Because if we can't have the Redskins back, give us everything else, right? Like, when I'm just surfing the web looking to buy a new hoodie or a new jersey or whatever it may be, or a hat, for the love of God, there's nothing out there. The Commanders' name with the W logo is garbage. But these jerseys, this color scheme, the stripes, the socks, the championship unis, we're back. And I can't wait to be in the barn actually on November 2nd to see those guys march out there in those unis, because it's going to be a beautiful day.
Yeah. And real quickly with respect to the logo, the way the major corporations that are, call them the top 5, top 10, top 15 corporate sponsors, and I would include the networks in that with the league, the league's true revenue generating partners. I would bet a lot of money, all right, that they care about the name, as we've talked about clearly, but that the logo is nowhere near the top of their list. I don't think that there is much resistance to the logo. So let's see what happens, in the coming months, and hopefully no worse than next year or the year after when it comes to that. But thanks, Rylan, as always. If you're on hold, I see you there. Stay there. 301-230-0980. The Skins unveiled their alt uniforms for 2025, and they are, minus the logo on the helmet, it's still the W. They are a replica of the championship era uniforms. True burgundy pants, true white tops. They'll wear them 3 times at home, starting on November 2nd against Seattle, then on November 30th against Denver, and then on Christmas Day against the Cowboys. And as I've said for, coming up now on 9 months, I think this is step 1. I think step 2 could be turning what we see Sunday night against Seattle on November 2nd, November 30th against Denver, Christmas Day against Dallas. I think it could be the first step towards something that ends up being more permanent. This has been something important to ownership. Mark Klaus, their new team president, clearly understands branding and attachment, emotional loyalty and attachment to a brand. And I think they nailed this. I think they got it right. And I think it's probably just step 1. We'll have to wait for step 2. But we're going to have to wait for step 1, because the first time they wear them, it'll be November. We'll have almost, and I think we will have half the season in the books at that point. The good news is, though, when the games become bigger in November and December, they're going to wear them. Let's see what this would be. 1, 2, 3 out of their last 5 home games. So there you go. Stay on hold. I'll get to your calls next. All right, 301-230-0980. The team has unveiled the alt uniforms for the upcoming season. It is a true throwback to almost exactly what they wore during their championship years and really beyond the championship years. I know some of you understand and have a much better sense for where the stripes were and where it was on the socks, where it was, on the sleeves, etc. I'm not a uniform expert. I can just look at these and think 91, 87, 82. And beyond that, in the picture is Jaden Daniels front and center. He is got two wingmen, Zach Ertz and Jeremy Reeves, with RFK Stadium in the background, which is lovely. The tweet reads, "Weaving past and present, we're adding back the Super Bowl era threads to our uniform collection." They put out a press release this morning. Mark Klaus, the new team president, was quoted in it. It was a description of the uniforms and talking about how they are excited to celebrate Washington's incredible history with these iconic Super Bowl era uniforms this season. They're going to wear them 3 times. Now, there's a little bit of, I did get, a text from somebody in the know that says it's 3 times, but there is a story on CBS Sports from early April that says the league changed the rule and you're now allowed to wear either alts or throwbacks or classics up to 4 times. Washington has designated 3 games for these uniforms. Seattle, November 2nd at home, Sunday Night Football as of now. Hopefully that doesn't get flexed. Sunday night, again, November 30th against Denver, Thanksgiving weekend. Rarely, by the way, are those Thanksgiving Sunday nighters flexed because of the travel around Thanksgiving weekend. They don't want to screw people up. And then on Christmas Day against the Cowboys on December 25th, that would be Thursday at 1 p.m. Netflix. 3 out of their last 5 home games, they'll wear these uniforms. Now, I don't believe you are allowed to wear your alt uniforms in the postseason. I think you might be able to wear your alt uniform pants. God, I am getting into the weeds on this. It's not even like me on this stuff. But I will just say what I said 45 minutes ago, 50 minutes ago. When I saw these this morning, it was definitely a feel-good moment. Like, I feel like they nailed it. I feel like they completely nailed it. We can't have Redskins back. I would have preferred, obviously, that they had done something about the name rather than doing nothing. And I think they would have had they gone 7-10 or 6-11 rather than 12-5 with 2 playoff games won. But I loved it. And I think it is an indication that our current organization gets it. And for 24 years, we had an organization that was completely clueless. And beyond that, every person they added to the organization was even more clueless than the person that preceded that person. And that's kind of why we ended up with what we ended up with in 2022. So I love them. I also believe, as you know, I mentioned this for the first time last October, that they were going to do this for alt uniforms in 2025. But I said on that particular day that I had also learned that this could be the first step towards something that is more permanent beyond 2025. We got to wait until November to see him on the field, but it looks good now. What do you think? 301-230-0980. Let's go. The phone lines are packed. Let's just rip some of these off. We'll stick with the phones and get your thoughts on these for sure for a little while. Let's go to Eddie in DC. Eddie, go ahead.
All right, Kevin, can you hear me?
I got you, Eddie.
Okay, so the first thing I want to say is, and I want to congratulate you on having an awesome show. I've been listening to you for years, and my schedule changed, and I just started listening to you again in the last year. But you are awesome with everything. Amy's Pizza.
Thanks, Eddie. I appreciate that, man.
I was a DC resident and all that. So yeah, I want to. You're right about the uniform. I'm a long time, Redskins fan and all that. Watch the football team. It's okay, but hopefully they'll change it to something else besides Commanders. At some point.
Well, they're not going to do that
okay.
anytime soon. Yeah. Josh Harris was pretty clear about that when the season ended.
Right. So, the organization is fine. I love these uniforms, and I just want a shout out to the organization because they did a great job. They are understanding what the longtime fans have been going through, and the fans that haven't been there but so long. They're doing a good job. They're doing a good job.
They nailed this. As far as I'm concerned, it's a very, it's a matter of opinion, no doubt. But I think they completely nailed it. And I think my only thoughts are I wish that they could wear them for all the games starting against the Giants. And I wish the name of the team at this point was Washington Football Team, understanding that Redskins isn't a possibility. But this is what they have been able to do. Of course, they could have changed Commanders to something else. But I think that they really got this right. Thanks, Eddie, and thanks for the kind words. Let's go to our guy, Bobby, in North Carolina. Bobby, go ahead.
Hey, Kev, I'm like you. I love the changes. But I got a question. So we're going to roll them out 3 times this year.
Yeah.
I understand that. Will they not be permanent in 26? Or there's still some they're undecided on what they're going to do starting in 26 for these uniforms?
Yeah, I mean, what I was told many, many months ago is that they were going to do something like this for their alt uniforms in 25, and that it was more likely than not they hoped to be step one towards something that would end up being more permanent in terms of going back to a look. And if this is the look, we like the look. Going back to something like this as the permanent. I don't know if that would be 26 or 27. There are a bunch of league rules around this, and clearing out the merchandise that they have. There's all kinds of rules around it. But I think that, look, if they go 0-3 in these things and they don't sell off, they don't sell like hotcakes and the team wins the Super Bowl in the other uniforms, just like last year, I was convinced that more likely than not they were going to do something with the name, but they won 12 games in 2 road playoff games. So we'll see. But this is, I in the moment right now, they have completely gotten it right, in my opinion.
Well, Kevin, we've been talking for a couple years now. They're nailing everything they get their hands on. We're run like a professional organization. Yeah. And, it just goes back for 24 years of misery with the other crap that we went through. So there's still a chance, Kevin, on the old helmet maybe coming back, because that's got nothing to do with the old name.
I would say, here's what I've said about the logo forever, right? This was never a controversial discussion or topic. Never.
Exactly.
But and I have a feeling that those same sponsors that would have a major problem with Redskins probably wouldn't have a problem with the old logo. Hopefully the team feels the same way. Maybe it will become a part of something next year. It wouldn't surprise me if the logo is still very much alive, whereas the old name is very much Dunsky. That's my view. I don't know anything for sure, but that would be my view on that.
Well, I think that'd be a home run. Now, to me, this is like a soft launch this morning with this thing, and everything I'm hearing and reading, it's been 100% positive by most fans. So if you could get that old logo back, Kevin, next year on this new uniform, man, they're cooking with gas again, brother. They really are. But anyway, good to talk to you, man. See
you too. Appreciate it as always, Bobby. Let's go to our guy, Dominic. Dominic in Tampa. Dominic, thanks for holding. Go ahead.
Kevin, good morning.
What's up, Dominic?
So for me, this is the first time in 5 years that, it's going to feel like the Redskins are back.
Yeah.
The only two issues I have with it is the stupid logo on the helmet and the fact that they're only doing it for 3 games. That's the only issue I have with everything. I personally believe that, this is just, I think this is a test to the NFL to show them that, they need to bring this stuff back. The old Redskins stuff, whether if it's not the name, okay, whatever. But the fact that those 3 games, I'll go on to say this, Kevin, and you tell me if I'm wrong or not. Those 3 games, they are going to break viewing records because of how many people are going to chime in and say, "Look, it looks like the Redskins again." That's my prediction
no doubt
on that.
By the way, not just our fans, NFL fans. Team
NFL
fans within
NFL
our
fans.
division will say, "Man, it looks like we're playing the Redskins again." Thank God.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's going to show the NFL, who you have to, get past for this whole name controversy, logo whatever the case may be. That's the step, like you talked about, step 1. I'm excited. I think this is the step that a lot, and I'm 35 years old, so I'm one of those still young fans per se.
Right.
But I don't have no detachment because of the losing. That's garbage. Okay? Look at Buffalo all those years until now. Their fans never left, or they didn't change their name because of it. I'm just using them as an example. But my point is that this is great. This is the step that we've all wanted, and that Jaden Daniel jersey is going to fly off the shelves the day that thing comes out, and that's another step in the direction that we want. I'm excited.
Thanks, Dominic. Appreciate it. Let me just make sure I'm clear on one thing. This isn't the first step towards bringing the old name back. That's never coming back. Just, again, it's never. I hate saying that, but I've been saying that for a while, not just yesterday. I've been saying that for a while. That horse left the barn, a year and a half ago. I don't think that they have any plans to change from the Commanders. I think those plans were very much a part of the thinking, until they ran off the season they ran off last year, 14 wins and 60 minutes away from the Super Bowl. But what they did with the uniforms is what they were planning on doing, the moment they bought the team, is to make the team look like the team used to look. And I think they nailed it on that front. And as far as the logo goes, I think it's step 1 towards this uniform becoming more permanent. Do I think the logo do I feel the same way about the logo that I feel about the name? No. I don't think the name has any chance of ever coming back. I hate that, but I don't think it has any chance of coming back. Do I think the logo has a chance of being a part of something associated with their branding? Yes, I do. But as far as where we are right now, I love what I saw this morning. I think they really, really got it right. And that is, by the way, just another example of the last, year and a half, coming up on 2 years of having people with, having a competent organization, an empathetic organization, and a real connection to the way many of us, long time, 2 decades or longer, feel and how we feel about the team. I think they understand that. I think there's a lot more they would have loved to have been able to do as it relates to all of this. But they're doing what they can do, and I appreciate it, and I think they nailed it. All right, I see all of you on hold. Stay there. We'll do another segment of calls, 301-230-0980. Your thoughts on the throwback Super Bowl era alternate uniforms that they will wear 3 times during the 2025 season. It's the Kevin Sheehan Show on the Team 980 and the team980.com. So many of you are tweeting and asking why not for 4 games. The league, it does appear, changed the rule from allowing up to 3 games in alt or throwback uniforms to up to 4 games beginning this season. And they have announced 3 games. Does that mean that they might have a 4th game in which they wear their black alts? I don't know. I'm trying to find out that answer, and I will let you know if I'm able to find out that answer. It does look like the new rule does not allow for an alt uniform to be worn in the postseason, but you can wear alternate pants in the playoffs. You have to wear your primary jersey if you make it to the Super Bowl. Let me repeat that. A secondary rule change is that teams can now wear their alternate pants in the playoffs. Previously, teams could only wear the pants from the primary section of their uniforms in the playoffs. But no alts in the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl still has to be your primary look, which I would argue that's what we just had unveiled today. Should be our primary look. I think they nailed it. Obviously, I hope that this is something that becomes permanent. I'd love the logo to come back. I don't think that's dead, but it's not going to be a part of it this year. And clearly, I'd love the old name back, but that is dead. But I think given everything that they've, been tasked with fixing that they can fix, I think specific to this, I think they nailed it. This from All Flats on Twitter. Kevin, you're still not getting it. Emotional attachment or detachment means everything, not halfway there. This is McDowell's, not McDonald's. This is Charlestown, not Vegas. You're congratulating them for rubbing it in our face by reminding us of what we'll never have. Yeah, I think that's a really good tweet, and I understand where you're coming from, All Flats. I do. But what would you prefer? Would you prefer to watch them in these cranberry and whites? This is what they can do. But you're right. Like, attachment is attachment. Detachment's detachment. And that is a branding term, something I'm sure Mark Klaus is very familiar with, and he's doing his best. I give them a lot of credit for this. Imagine if this last regime, like the regime between 2020 and this past year, if they were in charge of creating the alts and trying to tie it back to something that reminded us of the past, they would have butchered it. You needed people that really understood it. And Josh Harris and Mark Ein and Mitch Rales and many in that ownership group and many in that organization, they get it. And a guy like Mark Klaus clearly gets it. Let's go to Eric in Norfolk or Norfolk. Eric, go ahead. Eric, you there? No, Eric. Let's go to Johnny in D.C. Johnny, go ahead.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
What's up, Johnny?
I just wanted to say I love the new uniform, but I'm not going to buy it. I know the new regime, and I've been giving them the benefit of the doubt thus far, because like we got Jason Daniels, and we did win last year. So I have been giving them the benefit of the doubt, but unfortunately for myself, this feels like a Dan Snyder move. It feels like a cash grab. Let's give them something, and we'll sell a whole bunch of them, but we won't give them what they want. And my suggestion to fans are, don't buy it. We run things. That's what Daniel Snyder showed us, and what everything showed us from what happened with Daniel Snyder is we run this. And if we decide not to buy this stuff and we don't spend the money on it, watch how fast the Redskin name come back. You wear your Redskin gear to the game. You sing Hail to the Redskins when we score touchdowns, and watch how fast the NFL gets the message. But if we play along and we buy the uniforms and we don't stand up for what we want, we won't get it. We definitely won't get it. It won't come back for sure then, but if we show the NFL we want the name bad enough, it'll come back.
Yeah, Johnny, the name's not coming back. The $26 billion from corporate sponsors and networks is the lifeblood. And there will be plenty of people, including opponents' fans, to buy tickets, as we saw for basically 5, 6, 7 years, and invade the stadium
because they can't sell that new jersey.
Yeah.
Once the Commanders start losing,
guess what? They're going to sell the new jersey
because they can't sell those new uniforms. And the fans are showing up, showing them what they want.
What if they made those jerseys permanent? Johnny, stop talking for a second. Slow down. Okay.
Uniforms, old school uniforms.
Move on from Johnny. So, if they end up making them permanent, I don't know if that would have been satisfactory. Johnny is in the category, which I totally empathize with, that he's not spending dime one until the whole kit and caboodle comes back. I'm just more realistic, and I know that part of that whole kit and caboodle, Redskins, is not coming back. So you got to make a choice. And look, I have plenty of friends that have chosen to move on. Plenty of friends that this uniform isn't going to solve anything for them. They'll look at it. They'll be excited about it. But they're still going to say, they're wearing them against the Seahawks, and the announcer's saying Commanders have a 21-17 lead. And you're like, who? So there's still that. But that name's done. It's done. Sucks. It's done. What they can control, what they can do as it relates to this, I think they got it right. And it made me feel a little bit more passionate this morning. Looking at them, I just wish they could wear them for every single game this season. Let's go to Owen. Owen's been on hold for a while. Owen, thanks. Owen's calling from Dallas. Owen, go ahead.
Hey, Kevin, good morning. Don't know what that last guy's problem was. I love the uniforms. Definitely is a great.
Well, he wants everything back. He's not going to be happy. I know a lot of people this way.
Yeah.
Many people, many friends of mine. It's just never going to feel the same to them until the old name comes back. And I feel that way too, to a certain degree. But that old name's not coming back.
Yeah, of course. And I want it back too, but I've kind of accepted defeat on this, and it is whatever. But speaking upon the uniforms, I love them. I think the ownership got it down to every correct detail. They got the stripes right. They got the correct shade of burgundy. Finally, we have a smart enough ownership group that can get the right color of burgundy. And I think what's really smart in what they did is they kept Commanders completely off this uniform. They kept it as Washington branding, which I think was really smart. One thing, I don't love the matte helmets. I wish they were glossy, then they would be true traditional, but that's okay. Another thing is I know it's tradition that we wore these uniforms during home games, but what I don't love about this now is we're going to have to wear those Cranberry, Stanford, Louisville jerseys more than the burgundy ones, which that
depends on what they decide to wear at home for their other 4 home games and what the home team for their road games decides to wear. I mean, if the road team's wearing white, the Washington will have to wear dark jerseys. It won't be the cranberry and white.
Yeah. Anyways, I do love the uniforms. I think they got it right, and we're kind of away from the Rivera and Jason Wright regime of just complete blunders.
Yeah, as long as this is the first step towards something more permanent.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But anyways, that's my call.
Thanks, really appreciate it, Owen. Let's go to our guy Joe in Springfield. Joe, go ahead.
Hey, Kevin, what's going on?
How are you, Joe?
First of all, let me just say this is a nice early birthday gift for me, with my birthday being Friday, that we're bringing back these uniforms. I really appreciate that, and that's awesome to see that. This ownership has once again got it right.
They knew it was your birthday on Friday. They were talking about it holding off until Friday, but they needed to get it out on a Wednesday, midweek. Go ahead.
Yeah. But I do have 3 points to make. I mean, and one of them is that, and 2 are questions, and the third is the last point. I'll leave you, and I'll hang up afterwards. With the 3 home games, and I know they're just talking about maybe there's possibly a 4th one. why not have that possibly with the uniform for the homecoming game, which they haven't announced? I mean, look what they did last year when they had the Darryl Green jersey retirement. That was a big turnout. You have the uniforms for a homecoming game. That would be interesting to see. I mean, you have very limited with your home games.
I don't know when the homecoming game is. How do you know that one of those 3 games isn't the homecoming game? I hate, by the way, calling it the homecoming game. Isn't it called the alumni weekend game or something?
It's usually alumni weekend. Yeah,
calling it the homecoming game. Remember, was it Deshaun Foster, the Carolina running back, and he just completely eviscerated.
D'Angelo Williams.
D'Angelo Williams, thank you. Yes.
Yeah. So my second point is, I remember last year when Dan Quinn was doing his press conference in training camp, he had like a Commander's shirt with the W and the feather on there.
Right.
Why not put the feather attached to the W logo on the helmet? That could start a little trend too. I mean, that'd be kind of cool to see. Third and final point. Once again, this ownership gets it. They didn't leak out information. They surprised the fans by building.
Well, they did leak out something last week, and I mean, we got the W on the helmet, which was an indication that this was going to be a part of the alt. But didn't they? A lot of you are tweeting, and I'm trying to keep up with all of it. But a lot of you are like, you're upset because there was the Jaden Arrow feather helmet pick that was out there that went viral.
Maybe that's the fourth uniform they will use in the future. You never know.
Yeah.
I mean, who knows? But anyway, so those are
all right. Thanks, Joe. Happy birthday early, brother. Appreciate it. Let's go to John. John, go ahead.
Hey, Kevin. John.
What's up, John? Yep, John in Oklahoma. What's going on, man?
Hey. All right, man. How you doing? Hey, Kevin, I wish I was about half as enthused as you are, buddy, but I can't say that I'm even enthused at all, to be honest with you.
Okay.
That color they got that's wearing looks like my great-grandmother's robe, and that mustard, I don't even know what to tell you about that.
What are you talking about? This is the championship uniform minus the helmet.
I'm talking about the rest of the season. We got to wear that other crap.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay, come on. That looks like my great-grandmother's robe.
So what if these become permanent in 2026? Will you feel any different?
Good. Okay. But still, I'm not buying none of it, Kevin. I'd be honest with you. I'm a 55-year-old fan. I'm 55 years I've been a fan. I'm turned 63 that day. But anyway, listen, I'm like Johnny in D.C., man. That's just a small, almost like a Snyder move, man. I mean, a little bit here, but.
Come on, man. Snyder wouldn't have gotten it right. He wouldn't have gotten it right.
Well, man, listen, 3 games? What is 3 games, Kevin?
That's what you're allowed to. We think you're allowed 4.
If Eddie gave us, Kevin, listen, if Eddie gave us his colors of the whole season, our colors give us the whole season.
Because you can't do it that quickly. There are league rules around changing your uniform. This is, I think, the first step to something more permanent.
Okay, then I didn't know that part, Kevin. I'm saying timing. I'm still thinking timing, but I would like to see him the whole year if they could. Okay, I got
me too.
But still,
me too. But I think they're doing what they are allowed to do. Although we're still a little bit in a gray area on the fourth game opportunity. Why maybe they're just saving it for another moment. But that was not a press release that they put out. What else, John?
I didn't know about the other color. Man, I've been so long, I'm just not going to buy that stuff. But anyway, Kevin, hey, I love the show, brother. I love you to death. I've never been more in touch with this team until I got this radio station. You know what I'm saying? Been in Oklahoma, all you hear is Dallas out here. I'm 200 miles north. But anyway, I'm a Redskin fan. I live out here with all Native Americans. And, I told you before, they just feel like they're getting some out of history. You're not going to please every Native Americans like they say, 8 out of 10. Well, what about the 8 Native Americans? You just say, heck, with the other 10, 2, I mean, come on, man. It's what it is, Kevin. It's what it is.
You know how I feel.
Brother, I live out here.
I know. Cooley went to 25 reservations with the team, and he did not one was there any pushback. They all wanted the name to stay.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying, man.
But this is where we are.
Exactly.
This is where we are, John. The summer 2020 and FedEx and Fred Smith and Snyder behaving like the terrible person he was. It cost us that. I just know that this is what they can do this year. They couldn't go to this uniform as a permanent uniform this year. Maybe next year.
Kevin, I got one more thing to say. I think in time, once we get this property nailed down and we can break ground and they can't suck it out from underneath us, I see, progression definitely with the emblem. Maybe not Redskins, but I can see skins. I can't, because skins don't affect anybody, man. You can relate to that with anybody's skin color. But the logo, it's not offensive. We all know that. Like you said this morning, 10 times, it's not offending nobody. So I'm thinking in time. No,
I think the logo. I think the logo could be a part of something, down the road. Maybe even next year.
I really
John,
do. I really do.
Yeah, John. Always good to hear your voice, man. Thanks for calling.
Man. Hey,
Appreciate it.
I'm listening. Hey.
Yep. Let's go to our guy Kevin in Arlington. Kevin, go ahead.
Hey, Kev, how you doing, buddy?
I'm good. What do you think?
Man, I'm thrilled.
You texted me. I didn't read it. What do you think?
Well, I love it. And I know Rick Doc Walker, didn't Rick coin the term championship uniforms? I think he may have, but certainly he's always.
Yeah, I think CJ and Doc, basically. I don't know which one said it first, but whenever we had uniform talk, it was these are the championship uniforms, not the gold pants, which is true, as you know.
Yeah. So it's fabulous. They knocked it out of the park. I'm very excited. If they go in 26 to this or something very close to this is more permanent, great. I have just two other points I want to make, and one was in the text. Actually, and the only reason I know this, Kevin, is because it was Sonny's first game in Washington against his former team, the Eagles, back in '64. But we wore white jerseys that day. So
really? At home?
Before, but it wasn't.
Yeah. Well, I said that it may have happened before. You know me. George Allen's '71 season is the first that I legitimately remember.
Sure. I'm just trying to be the historian for the show whenever I can step in. The other thing is this, and I think I may have asked you about this in a text previously, and this isn't the fight for today. And like the last caller said, we have to play the long game, us old timers who would like to, at a minimum, get the logo back. And I think the logo should come back. And what I've never heard is the following. Why can we not return to the original name of the franchise? We were the Boston Braves. The only reason George Preston Marshall switched the name from Braves to Redskins was at the time he owned both the Red Sox and he wanted for the alliteration of having the Red Sox and the Redskins both playing in Fenway. Anyway, but going back to Braves, there's nothing offensive about Braves. Warriors, you can see people say, "Oh, why praise warmongers?" We live in Washington. We're political. There is nothing wrong with Braves. It was the original name. There's no reason we shouldn't be able to reclaim that name and that patent, what have you. And I'm hopeful that after, as this guy just said, they break ground and the stadium's being built. It can't be, fought any longer. That they consider. Because that logo means so much. The whole brand attachment issue you were talking about, it's really, to me, it's more the logo and the feel and all of that as much as that name. Okay? That's just what I think. We'll have to see. I don't hate Commanders. As I've said to others today, this is the Skins. This is the Washington football team. This is Commanders. We're all of those things. The team has been all of those things in my lifetime and in my kids' lifetimes. So, and they love the team too. That's what I think.
Thanks, Kev. Appreciate it. Good call. Everybody on hold, and I want to give all of you a chance to weigh in. So we will stick with this for at least another segment. So if you're on hold, Eric, Billy, Van, Sabah's on hold. All right, just saw that. I can guess what she's going to say, but we'll let her say it for herself. 301-230-0980. They unveiled the alt uniform for the 2025 season. It is a throwback to their Super Bowl championship uniforms. It looks exactly like the 82, 87, 91. I'm sure there were subtle differences with all of them, but looks like the team that we spent our whole lives rooting for, minus the helmet, which does have the current logo, the W on it. What do you think? 301-230-0980. Kevin Sheehan Show, the Team 980, theteam980.com. You can also stream us on our Team 980 YouTube page. When you get there, hit the subscribe button and hit the like button as well. So we got the new alt uniform for 2025, and there is certainly a ton of reaction to it. If you haven't seen it, I retweeted it. We retweeted the video. Everything's on the Team 980 Twitter page as well. It is a throwback to the Super Bowl era championship uniforms. True burgundy, white tops, burgundy pants. It is a great look. I'm not going to lie to you, as dispassionate at times as I've been about this team over the last 7-8 years for a lot of reasons, primarily over the last 5 years, although certainly excited watching the team last year. This, raised the passion level when I saw it. The idea that, when you turn on the game on Sundays or Sunday nights, or this year, Thursday nights, Monday nights, and a lot of different, high-profile spots. And at least 3 times this year, you're going to feel like you're watching the old team. I love that. And I think it's step one to something that will become more permanent. They couldn't make them permanent for this year. There are rules around, changing uniforms. But I certainly think that this could be, and it was told to me 9 months ago, this could be the first step towards the changing of the uniform and having it look like it used to look, and that becoming more permanent. I think they nailed it as far as this goes. I think it's an indication of this organization at its top levels being competent, being empathetic, connecting with, because they are part of it, truly part of it, the fan base. There are things that, we're never going to be able to get the Redskins. There are things like wanted a name change regardless. For me, back to Washington football team if it couldn't be the Redskins. But with respect to this, I think they got it right. Now, there seems to be a bit of a, an area of question, which is the NFL put out a press release in April saying that teams were allowed to wear alt uniforms, throwback uniforms, up to 4 times per season. Washington announced 3 games with these uniforms. November 2nd, Sunday Night Football against Seattle. November 30th, Sunday Night Football against Denver. And Christmas Day against the Cowboys. By the way, a couple of you have tweeted me saying, why not wear them for road games? You can't wear you can't pick the uniform for road games. The home team gets to pick the uniform. And then the road team has to adapt to that. If the home team's wearing white, you got to wear dark if you're the visiting team. I guess those color rush games aside, but they're going to wear them 3 times. I don't know why not 4. Maybe they're going to wear the black alts in another game, and maybe that announcement is coming at some point. Maybe they're saving it for a 4th game, TBD, but that was not said in the press release. If they had the opportunity to wear these 4 times at home, remember they've got 7 home games this year. I'm sorry, 8 home games, 9 road games. Of course, one of their road games is in Madrid, neutral site. But they've got 8 home games, the NFC does this year. So in 3 of them, they're going to wear these uniforms. Could they have worn them in a 4th? If true, and they didn't do it, I want to know why they chose not to do it. But as far as the look, I think they got it right. Phone lines are still open, but they're all packed here. So let's get to those of you who have been on hold for a while. Let's go to Van in North Carolina. Van, go ahead.
Hey, Kevin, first time caller from North Carolina.
Hi, how are you, Van?
Great, buddy. Listen, I'm 65 years old, and I saw the ad this morning concerning the uniform, and I tell you, the first thing I said, there's my team. There is my team. The only change that I would make, though, concerns the helmet, is everybody's talking about the logo. You remember the old 70 helmet, the yellow special helmet?
With the R.
Why couldn't they? That's right. Why couldn't they have encircled the W and have the feather hanging off that?
I wasn't involved in the design meetings. I'm sure that there was conversation about including Native American, or at least perceived Native American imagery. And for whatever reason, that's not a part of this. look, part of it is that the W is their current logo. And at this point, they don't feel comfortable going back to the old logo, but I think they will use the old logo at some point. I'm not saying on the helmet for sure, but I think that it will be used at some point down the road, maybe when this uniform becomes permanent. We'll see. But yeah, it would have been. I would have been fine with that. Now you're not suggesting the R, because the R would have been for Redskins.
No,
Yeah.
just the W, the W.
Got it.
I want you to know up there in Washington that it's still Washington territory down here in North Carolina.
Always was. Thanks, Van. Appreciate it. Let's go to Eric. Is Eric there or not? Eric, go ahead.
Yeah, Kevin. Sorry about that. I somehow
That's
hit
all
the
right.
mute button, but. Hey, now I'm in a segment with Billy and Dr. Sabas. I'll take it. But
I don't know.
everyone.
I mean, that's some interesting company.
It's interesting company,
volatile.
but they're household names. But a lot of people are age dropping, and so I'll kind of throw out. I'm 44 years old, and I couldn't be more happy to see these uniforms coming back. I've often said that I think that the burgundy and gold is up there with the iconic colors as much as the Yankees stripes or the Lakers purple and gold. The Nats, Caps, and Wizards, they're red, white, and blue. And how many other teams are red, white, and blue everywhere else? The burgundy and gold is iconic. And so to see that come back really kind of brings back a lot of those feelings. And I love that, in July that we're getting to talk about this. I mean, the phone lines and the segments are saying, this is a great thing to talk about during a sports drought. But, this is a lot of fun. And for anyone who wants, the name or the logo and things like that to come back, look, I miss it too. But it's a group called Not Your Mascots. If anyone wants to know who the group is that's really pounding the drum the loudest against using either the logo, the mascot, anything like that, they're the ones who have been instrumental in trying to make that change here locally.
Thanks for that. Appreciate it. And
yes, sir.
Good to hear from you. Yeah, I definitely had the feeling when I saw it, I'm like, they got it right. Thank God. Part of it was too, and I didn't really elaborate on this in the first hour of the show when I talked about this before we started on calls, is that I knew it was going to look something like the past. And just, I'll be totally forthright now. I was shown a picture of just a part of it a while back. All right. I can't disclose how I saw the picture, but it wasn't the whole thing. And I was like, well, at least you got the colors right. You got the colors right. Now I just want to see the rest of it. But I had to wait until this morning, like all of you, to see the rest of it. And I was just hoping that it would be the uniform, their uniform, and I in the same moment that I saw it and said, all right, they got it right. Thank God. The whole thing came together. And I also just thought, as much as I still believe that they should have done something with the name rather than not doing something about the name, I personally think that they're wrong on that. But I don't have all the information they have, other than I know Redskins was never a possibility. If Redskins was a possibility, I think we'd be the Redskins right now. But it was never a possibility. But it just, like, to me, and I said this in the first hour, this is, how many years did I say, God, it's so frustrating to deal with anybody out there. Nobody out there understands the history of this franchise. Dan didn't. Dan was not a fan like many of you and like I was. He went to a few games, had a belt buckle and had some socks, but he couldn't have named, half the players from the 80s, in a single, setting. He couldn't do it. He wasn't that kind of a fan. And Bruce was. Now, Bruce understood when he was here. He's the one that understood. But man, that was not the most functional of human beings in the position he was, at least here in Washington. But how many times did I say over the last 15, 16, 17, 18 years, there's just nobody that seems to get this organization and understand the past and understand the history. And I feel like for the first time, there's like this, there's this knowledge, this institutional knowledge of, of the team. And that's because Josh and Mark and Mitch Rails and Mitch's brother, Steven Rails, they lived it in the same way so many of us did. I really feel deep down, if they could have gone back to Redskins, they would have done it. And they would have put up with all of the people that would have pushed back, because it would have been very controversial, even though it would have been a home run from a revenue, merchandising, etc. standpoint. But they couldn't. They couldn't. I still think they should have gone away from Commanders, even after the successful season that they had. I think it would have been more beneficial to do something rather than not do something, but they have more information. And I understood how it was never going to be an easy decision in terms of what you came up with as the new thing. But this is what they've decided to pursue in the moment. And I think they nailed this. I think they really got this right. And there's no way the group that was here from 2020 to 2024 before they got here would have gotten this right. Dan wouldn't have gotten this right. Let's get Sabah on. Doctor, go ahead. I'm assuming that this just isn't anywhere near enough for you.
Listen, Kevin, thank you for taking my call. I'm just upset with you because you need to just say, I wish the name would come back, and leave it alone. Don't conclude. Stop concluding because you're making the ownership get away with it.
No, I'm not. The ownership isn't paying attention to me. The league isn't paying attention to me. And by the way, it's not the ownership that would be able to make the call on this. This would have to be a league call. Okay, they're one of 32. They have rules on this stuff.
It's a private company.
No, they're not a private company. The NFL's a private company. Each organization is a member of this private company, and they have rules. They have bylaws.
Yeah. Well, hold on. All right. Well, I got a thing for you. I think that, and I sent you this video. Josh Harris, he was asked yesterday, "You're going to change the name back to Redskins?"
Yeah, I saw that.
No, he turned and smiled. Here's
because
what
you see, because it's a laughable question to him now.
Listen.
You send me these things from these sites and these videos, and you think they're credible. Yes, that's a real video, but your interpretation of his non-answer is completely different from mine, even though you and I both want the same thing. It's just that you think it can still be had, and I don't.
You ready? This is what's going to happen. So this is the way it's going to happen. So they're going to bring their uniform graduate, which to me is not a big deal.
You don't have the best of track records on this is what's going to happen.
Here we go.
Taylor
Again,
Heineke.
It's better to fail than quit. We got to keep going. So RFK, they're holding that up for a reason. That Trump and the city council, they're going to make it, and this is what Josh Harris really wants. He wants his hand forced. They're going to say, we're going to give you the land. We're going to give you the date you want. You're going to be able to have your little women's soccer team there, whatever, that Olympic thing or whatever it is, World Cup. But you've got to name the stadium Redskins Football Kingdom. And we're going to go to the kingdom and have games in the palace, whatever you want to call it.
I hope you're right,
That's how the Redskins going to make it come back. Don't give up, Kevin. Just stop saying it's never coming back. Just say you want the name and leave it at that.
No,
we don't need you to be that Walter Clark.
I don't need you to coach me on how to do this, because here's what you have to do when you do this. You have to be honest with how you feel, and that's how I feel.
But you're not honest.
So I also understand that the impact that this has is not, with respect to this particular subject, is not what you think it is. But on the scenario that you just laid out, I pray that you're right. God, I hope you're right, but I don't think you will be.
That's going to be awesome, because once that happens, guess what? Josh Harris will be like, oh, we love the natives. Yes, they want Redskins back. This has nothing to do with the natives. And the people blocking it aren't even Native Americans.
I understand that.
It's the virtue signaling. Listen,
I understand that.
Brad's name back. He's putting Aunt Jemima and Uncle Ben's back on the stuff.
Yes.
He's reversing a bunch of this mess that happened because of weirdness.
It was silly.
People deserve to be
honored. It was a lot of
with their
silliness.
names on things.
You know I am with you 100% on all of that.
So
I'm just telling you.
It's not coming back.
I'm just telling you.
Don't say that.
It's not coming back.
Say, I wish it comes back, and leave it alone. That's all.
Okay. I wish it comes back, but it's not.
Okay.
Thank you, Sabah. Appreciate it. Let's go to Billy in Chantilly to follow up on Sabah. What's up, Billy?
Kevin, always a tough challenge to follow Sabah. The uniforms look amazing. You and I are going to do some role playing right now. I'm going to be Josh Harris. You're going to be Roger Goodell. Here's a phone call. Roger, hi, it's Josh. I'm the owner of the Commanders, as you may know. My fan base has suffered for 25 years with the worst ownership in the history of sports. We also have the dumbest name in the history of sports, and they changed our uniforms. We went to the NFC Championship last year. I have not sold out my season yet this year. I want you to know that my team, the Washington Commanders, will be wearing the new uniform for all 17 games this year, and you can find me if you want because my fan base needs these new uniforms, and I need it to merchandise and sell more of my stuff. What are we going to say about that, Roger?
How do you really feel, Josh? Tell me how you really feel, Josh. And you didn't need to introduce yourself to me. We've met many times. But by the way, since we're role-playing, Josh, I'm going to make an exception. You get to wear them in all 17 games this year.
Thank you, Roger. What are we waiting for? Everybody's cranberry and mustard.
I don't know. There's a bunch of stupid league rules around this stuff, including the merchandise that's already been produced.
You saw Air? You saw the movie Air with the Jordan sneaker? Oh, they can't have that much black and red with the white. So what?
Right.
We don't care. Pay the fine. No
By the way, you know what we need to see, Billy? We need to see what the burgundy tops. I mean, we know what they look like, and we know what they will look like based on this. But if they were to be available, like if Roger really said and took that call and said, "Fine, wear your alts as permanent starting this year," then we would, also get to see the dark uniform, the dark top uniform.
Would that be amazing? I just can't wait. They look fantastic. I'm pumped.
Right.
17 games. Thank you.
You look great, I'm sure, today, too. Thomas, Lou, Mark, Lap, Andrew, anybody else on hold, stay there. We'll do this for one more segment. Mike Rizzo spoke this morning on the Junkies. You'll hear some of that coming up next hour as well. Kevin Sheehan Show, the Team 980 and the Team980.com. I said at the beginning of the show, we could do 3 hours today. We could do 6 hours today on the uniforms. By the way, the timing of this is perfect for them, too. They were smart. This is such a slow time of the year, and we're still 2 weeks away from camp getting officially underway with veterans there 2 weeks from yesterday. This was... this was the right thing to do in terms of the timing as well. And let me just, because several of you have asked me just to be more clear, what I said back in October was this was what was going to happen for 25, something resembling the old uniforms, and now we know that it's almost exactly, other than the helmet. A lot of people do not like the matted helmet. They would have preferred the glossy helmet. But beyond that, this was what they were going to do for 25, and that it would be step one on the way to something that would become more permanent in either 26 or 27, depending on the soonest that they could do that per the NFL rules. So I think what we're looking at here, we're still not clear as to why it's not for 4 games. Hold on for a second. Let me see if I have any. Yeah, I think there's a chance that the 4th game, Max, is going to be the black alts. I know that that's not going to make people thrilled because you can wear these up to 4 times now. That's the new rule in the NFL. You can wear alt uniforms up to 4 times a year. It would not surprise me if the 4th alt opportunity is the black uniforms, but I'm not sure of that. But I would prefer it to be what we're looking at. But again, I think this is step one on the way to something more permanent. By next year, worst case, 27. All right, let's rip through these calls. Give me what your thoughts are. Try to sum them up quickly because it's been a long time on hold for many of you, and I appreciate it. Mark in Largo. Mark, go ahead.
I hate it, Kevin, and I'm going to tell you why.
Okay.
I think, look, this team is trying to set their own identity. And I've been a Wizards fan for 47 years. They changed the name. I still love the team. Yes, I have not seen this team win 50 games since 1979. So I'm in a case where I can sit back and judge all these fair weather fans that are bringing politics into sports. If you don't like the politics of everything that's going on, blame what's going on with the media. I hold you guys responsible for this, Kevin. And I'm going to tell you why. I understand everybody hated Dan Snyder, and I get it. But a lot of
not
people
everybody.
Thought,
remember,
whatever,
Ivan loved him.
But they knew if you got him to change the name, it would be a fast track for him to sell the team. And the bottom line is this. I love this team.
What did you say if we got him to change the name? Who got him to change the name? We didn't want the name changed.
I think there were people in the media that felt if the name change went down, that would eradicate the fan base. And it did. A lot of people felt that way. But let me say this. I could go either way. I love cheering for this team.
Yep.
I'm glad they're winning. I don't give a damn about what they wear. They could wear me or you. I don't care.
Well, that's you.
That's you, Mark.
That's you, Mark.
I'm in a generation. I'm sick and tired of Generation X and the baby boomers and the silent generation sitting up here putting it all on the millennials and the Gen Z saying, I don't trust this team because I don't like the colors in the name change. I get it. But don't bring politics into sports. That's what makes sports so beautiful. Leave the politics out.
Per usual, I'm getting bits and pieces here of your thought process. But the bottom line is, I do agree with you. Politics in sports has no place, even though we see it seep into our sports and have, by the way, for our entire lifetimes. With respect to, the uniforms, the name change, eradicating the fan base, it happened. Yeah, it did. And as far as the way you feel, you're entitled to feel the way you feel. You've been a lifelong fan. And I'm entitled to feel the way I feel. And others are entitled to feel the way they feel without the lecturing.
Okay, all right, yeah. Kevin, you're right. I shouldn't be lecturing because you're in generation, you're in the baby boom generation. I'm in Gen X. I get it. I'm sorry for lecturing everybody. I just want this team to win.
Me too.
I think this team.
I want this team to win, and I want them to win looking like the old team. I want them to look like the old team. All right, Mark,
No,
thanks.
it's
I got to
not
go.
that.
I'm up against a hard out, and I'm not going to have a chance to get to everybody else. Andrew, Samaj, Jason, Thomas, Lap, Joe, everybody on hold. We can do this again tomorrow, or maybe we should do it a little bit more today. This is what you guys want to talk about. Stay on hold. We'll do this. I'll save some of the other stuff we were going to do for tomorrow. Andrew, Samaj, Jason, Thomas, Lap, everybody on hold. Stay there. Your thoughts on the uniforms. Kevin Sheehan Show, the Team 980 and the team980.com. Uniform Talk Day, July 9th, 2025. The alt uniforms were unveiled by the team this morning on social media. They look great. They are championship era uniforms, Super Bowl era uniforms. They're going to wear them 3 times in 2025. They are allowed to wear alt uniforms. We have confirmed that up to 4 times a year now. Last year, the rule was 3, but they changed the rule to up to 4 times. So we don't know what they'll do with that 4th opportunity. Maybe they won't utilize it. They should with the uniform that they just unveiled. It's possible, though, that it could be the alt black uniform that they wear in their other alt uniform game opportunity. We'll see. But my thoughts are really simple. I love it. I love what they did with it. It's a total throwback. It's a total feel when you look at it that you're looking at your team, minus the logo on the helmet. It is, I do think, step one to something that will eventually become more permanent, maybe next year, maybe in 2027. It's a real indication for me, another one that this ownership group, this front office, everybody associated with this team, they're competent. They have knowledge of the history of this team. They have empathy. They have a feel for the fan base. And by the way, that includes understanding how important the name has been. Trust me. I told you back in October about these uniforms that they would unveil for the 2025 season as alts. And I told you that same day that they are certainly, and had been for a while, dealing with the name issue and what they would do. And it was still in play back in the early portion of the season, maybe even into the middle or even latter portion of the season. But the season was too great last year, and it gave them the path of least resistance. I don't agree with their decision on that, but I also understand how difficult it was to come up with something new. But I think on this, man, I think they nailed it. I really do. And I think, this organization's in a completely different place, thank God, than it was. And we all wish the old name was back and it hadn't been lost. And all of that was part of it without Dan. But what they've been able to control for the most part, this being one of those things, they certainly got this right. And I do think the logo is still in play. It's not a part of what we saw unveiled this morning. But I think the logo is still something that will be a part of the branding, whether it's the uniform or whether it's something else. I don't think the logo is dead. I think the name Redskins is, but I don't think the logo is, because that was never something that was controversial. All right, we'll do one more segment of calls here. Thomas has been on hold for a while. Thomas is calling from South Carolina. Thomas, go ahead.
Hey, Kevin. Yeah, no, I'm giving you a call. Yeah, I mean, I really love the uniforms. I mean, of course, we all want the old name and the old logo back, but I think the uniforms look great. I do think they missed an opportunity here in really having that 4th alt. Why not have that for the Madrid game? You know what I mean? We're playing against Miami.
Well, that's a road game. I mean, I think that's a road game for us. Yeah.
Could they not work that with Miami and have them wear their
I think this early, if you're going to announce the games, you know what? Maybe that is the 4th opportunity. Maybe they're saving it for Madrid and they've got to work it out with the Dolphins. Who knows? Maybe that's another surprise announcement coming in the next few weeks or right before the season starts. I don't know. It's not a bad idea, but you don't get to pick the uniform when you're the road team, and Washington is the road team in the Madrid game.
Gotcha. I think
you don't get to. I'm sorry, you don't get to pick. You don't get to pick first, meaning dark or white. First, so if the Dolphins wore white in that game, Washington wouldn't be able to wear this alt uniform.
Gotcha. Yep. And then the only other thing, the one caller earlier had mentioned, like, hey, I don't know if these are going to sell. These are going to sell. I can tell you right now, because I think there's been a lot of pent up demand for Washington gear, and this is the closest thing that we've had in a long time. I think these are going to sell, and I think this is going to be a big step forward and really trying to help, get those sales going again. I'm just wondering, does this help push it over the finish line for the stadium deal? I mean, Tuesday is going to be the deadline for the exclusivity rights. Does this sort of kind of call back to our old selves? Does this help push this over the line? I don't know.
I don't think that this is going to impact the city council voting on the RFK deal one way or the other. That I can't think of why it would. Okay. I'm not saying that it won't, but I can't think of a logical reason as to why this announcement with the throwback uniforms would, influence any city council member on this deal. But anyway, thanks for the call, Thomas. Yep. Appreciate it. Let's go to Andrew in Chester. Andrew, is that Chestertown? Go ahead.
No, it's Chester, Maryland. We're like in the middle of Kent Island. So
yeah, that's what
thanks so much. Yeah. But thank you so much for not only this show, but for your podcast as well, Kevin. It's always a great listen to you. As far as anything on the step they're taking with these alternate jerseys, it just reaffirms for me already. And I had the same passion as you when it came to the name and everything else. There's not much really add there without repeating anything that's already been said. But this tells me that the franchise is taking the steps in the right direction. I feel good about that. I felt good about that in February when Josh Harris came out after a great season, told us where they were on the name. I was like, you know what? I've all of a sudden forgotten about it. I feel good now. It's weird how that happens.
I didn't feel good that day, but I understood it to a certain degree, but I didn't feel good. Yeah. But continue. I know what you're saying.
It wasn't quite a spoonful of sugar to help the medicine go down, but it did
you're
a
right.
little bit.
You're right. At least he said something and didn't deflect, which he had done for, about a year and a half, or for about a year at that point. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And the whole thing about it resonates here, and didn't mention the fans. You had a take on that, and I feel very similar to that too. I'm like, we're where it's at. We're the ones that are really kind of dictating what's important. And as you can see by this show here, you can do an entire show. You could do an entire week talking about this, and there's going to be a passion about it. So for all those naysayers out there that were saying that this was stupid, we should be focusing on the stadium and all this kind of stuff, I'm like, we could walk and chew bubblegum too. We don't have to be suit and tie fans here. We have a passion for this stuff too, because laundry and logos matter. But one thing I wanted to pivot to was the song. We can't be Commanders anymore. I'm not just talking about broadly. It just sounds wonky. Even Andy Pollin, I think, said this once, and I was agreeing with him. It's like, it just is too many syllables. It's too wonky. Let's Go has been overused a million times, but that's the only thing that I can think that could work. You could do something like Let's Go Commanders, Hail Victory, Be Brave on the Warpath, and Fight for Old DC. Keep everything else the same. I'd hate to lose the melody. I'd hate to lose the cadence, but hopefully Campbell Soup president, I can't remember his name, can make
Mark
the song good. Yeah, hopefully there could be some editing in that. I respect him and what he could do. Like with all things, I feel good about what's going forward. But I would hope that's the next step, because the Hail thing just ain't working anymore. It's too clunky and just kind of sounds off. But I don't think it should be Hailing Commander. It's different.
I have musicians in my family. I will defer to them and anything that they think about the name. But what you first said is, so true about, and I mentioned this last week when they just put out the teaser that the alt uniform would be unveiled on July 9th today. And I said, look at the number of views. Like anybody, and I know there are people, I think, I don't listen to everything in this town, but I know people have told me that there are people in media that laugh at people like me that think this is a big topic. Already on this tweet of the alt uniform, they've got 1.2 million views, and it's not even 3 hours old at this point. They don't have anything resembling this since their last game. Like, of course this matters. Of course people care about this. And by the way, thank God people like Josh Harris and Mark Ein and Mitchell Rails don't listen to people who just got here 10 minutes ago and think it's stupid that we still talk about the name and the uniforms. And I'm not saying that everybody that feels like it's a stupid topic just got here 10 minutes ago, but the people that got here just 10 minutes ago that weigh in on this, you're entitled. You're just not part of the family conversation. And nothing, there's so many indications, including all of the polling and everything else. I was told, by the way, that poll for the Post that came out, remember, a few weeks ago, I was out when that came out, Max, and then we talked about it when I got back. They couldn't believe there were people within the walls of Ashburn could not believe that percentage of people that were okay with the Commanders wasn't much higher, which was my exact reaction. I'm like, when you go 12-5 and win 2 road playoff games, that number's got to be higher. Yeah, this is an issue.
Yeah,
it's been an issue, and it's going to continue to be an issue. But the further you get away from it, obviously, you're going to attract a whole new, younger fan base, and winning matters. Like, again, like you said, we can do more than one thing at the same time. Winning matters, and you can still also feel the way you want to feel about the name, the branding, the uniforms, everything else. Anyway,
does this have a negative impact on the revenue in any kind of way? Do you think, because they
what'd you say? I'm sorry.
There, when back in February, one of my big worries was when, or not worry, but it made me hopeful when Harris said we're going back to our brand, and I'm like, well, are you not trying to sell any merchandise this year? Because if you've given people that carrot that you're going back to your brand, ain't nobody buying the Louisville jerseys. Ain't nobody buying anything else. They're going to hold out and wait for this. Do you think that's?
I think the Jaden jersey is still among the top selling, though, Thomas. That Jaden Daniels jersey has sold a lot. I mean, Max can look it up in terms of where they, where it is. But I know at the end of this season, Jaden had a top 2 or 3 jersey in the league sold. Thanks. Let me get to some other calls. I appreciate it. Samaj has been on hold. Samaj, go ahead.
Hey, Coach. Thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
Most of all, thanks for expanding the topic, man, because it didn't look like I was going to be able to get in. You best believe I would have waited till the next time I had an opportunity, because you know how I am of dual minds. I want to start off by what I was going to end with is what Doc is adamant about. Like, at the bottom line, he's absolutely correct. The winning is the toll tale of all of this, because we wouldn't even have this much of a firestorm about the conversation if it wasn't for a 12-5 record right in our back pocket from last season. So winning does carry it all, and there's no disputing that. So I just want to make sure I spoke to that before I went petty. So now I'm going to go petty, Kevin. All right. Now, you and I, gentlemen, sir, have been usually on the same page most of the time, but not with this one, Kev. And my thing is, and I'm not going to say I don't see how you don't get it, because I didn't get it for the longest. It just smacked me in the cheekbone like a Tyson right hook of an epiphany. So I'll say this. I love the uniforms. I'm thrilled it's back. But in my mind, Kev, it's incomplete. They did not nail it. It's incomplete. And it's incomplete because they don't have the logo. And here's my thoughts on the logo. First of all, the current brass and ownership still owns the logo right, which most of the Redskin nations knows. Most of the Burgundy and Gold nation knows. We still own the rights. If you didn't know, we do. We own the rights to the logo. That said, the logo bearer is a rendition of the buffalo nickel of an actual tribal chief. What's his name?
Blackie Wetzel.
White Cat. No.
White right. Exactly.
White Cat. Now, Walter Blackie Wetzel is the chair of a national Native American organization, which has also embraced the logo, not necessarily the name.
Blackie Wetzel's not alive anymore, but his grandson, I think his name's Ryan, is a big part of handling it for the family. Yeah.
Right, exactly. So anyway, my point with all that, Kevin, and like I said, it just hit me out the blue, and maybe it'll do the same for you. We're talking chief. We're talking chief. A chief in wartime is a commander. It's the perfect fit.
Okay, Samaj, we're not far apart on this. I would prefer the logo to be back and be a part of it.
Yes, I think you do.
And I said that. I said they nailed it. I just wish the logo were a part of it. And I think there's a possibility it will be in the future. I think there's a chance. Yeah.
I agree, and I hope it is a chance, but I hope they go full-time, not part-time, full-time. And I also want it back at the 50-yard line. There's just no reason to not keep the logo. And I'm all good with the W as well. Don't get rid of the W. The W is dope. Just slide it down to the pants. Put it on the hip. Keep the W, because I've also embraced Hail to the W. I like that. I could care less about the song. I always thought the song was corny, but I'm embracing the phrase Hail to the W. So I like that. And other than that,
right,
man, I'm good. And then lastly, Kevin, on the black unis, my only issue is, like I said, I'm being petty, but the burgundy trim on the black unis needs to be expanded so we can really see the burgundy. As they are right now, I
all of your suggestions, you're not getting any pushback from me. So I think we were more in agreement. It just sounds like you're not in the camp of when you looked at it, you're like, they nailed it. I was, but I recognize that the old logo wasn't a part of it. But my expectation was that it was not going to be a part of it for this iteration anyway. Thanks, Samaj. Jason and Laurel, this is the last one and the last call we've got time for. Jason, finish it up. Thanks for holding.
Hey, Kev, no problem. Thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
Like you, I love it. And I'm also not surprised, probably like you as well, that this firestorm was caused today. I hope the black jerseys are still going to hang around because I actually like that too. I have a black Jaden Daniels jersey. It's really a very few pieces here I have. And I was telling your screener that it's interesting, and I've heard this, and I don't know that I've seen it. I've heard that the gear that has the W on it sells. Any gear that has Commanders on it,
yes,
doesn't really
I've heard
sell.
that
I don't
too.
own any Commanders gear.
Yeah,
everything I have is either Redskins or a W.
I've got some things with W on it. I would never purchase anything or even accept anything with Commanders on it. I'm with you.
Yeah, I think unfortunately, and I feel bad for Harris. He's in a bad spot. Can make
Your
everybody
phone
happy.
is bad,
but
Jason.
I want to give everybody this parting thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't know if the conversation's over. When the new stadium's built, there's a possibility then. I don't.
Maybe. No, the old name, no. I don't. Look, thanks for the call. Your phone was choppy. Look, I guess like with anything in life, you should never say never. I just know as of now, the people that would be involved and, would have to say yes to it are saying never. By the way, I was thinking about the black alts. I bet you that fourth alt uniform is black and it's Monday Night Football against the Bears because that's what they were wearing on the Hail Mary, right?
Correct.
Yeah. I bet you that's the fourth game and they wanted to wear black at home against the Bears on Monday Night Football. That's just a guess. Nobody's told me that. I have people checking to see why they don't have an announcement on the fourth opportunity for an alt. I'm just guessing the black alt Monday Night Football at home against Chicago. Mike Rizzo was on with the Junkies. You'll hear some of what he said earlier, and then we're going to finish up the show talking to somebody who competed against and knew Tim Strachen very well. For those of you who remember Tim, know Tim, and maybe aren't familiar with Tim, Tim passed away yesterday. He is flat out one of the greatest local high school athletes ever. We will talk about Tim's life with Kevin Ricca at 12:40. Kevin Sheehan Show, the Team 980 and the team980.com.
were you given an ultimatum to fire Davey that would have maybe saved your job? Because that is what fans think.
Again, not discussing it. We had a lot of discussions over the 20 years I've been here. August 24th is my 19th year anniversary. Would have been, and so we've got a lot of water under the bridge. We've had a lot of decisions to make. We've had a lot of discussions, arguments, yelling matches, hugs, and kisses.
It's not a no.
Mike Rizzo with his first public appearance since being fired on Sunday, along with Davey Martinez. He was on his normal spot with the Junkies this morning here on the Team 980 and on the Fan 106.7.3. There were a few sound bites, a few questions that he answered, a lot that he kind of ducked, and the guys did a great job of trying to get a lot out of him. But Mike's a first-class guy, always has been, but there was a little bit that was there that you could certainly take as implication. I said this the other day. It's interesting because unlike Ernie Grunfeld, who was also very well liked by people who worked with him, for him, and by people who dealt with him, like media members, unlike Ernie, Mike Rizzo won a world championship as a general manager and had an incredible 8-year run from 2012 through 2019, where his baseball team made the postseason 5 out of 8 years and won more games than any team in the sport, with the exception of one, the Los Angeles Dodgers. And there were incredible memories made for, such a young, without baseball for 34 years, market. We'll always have those painful memories. Game 5 against the Cardinals, Game 5 at home against the Dodgers, the loss to the Cubs, losing to the Cubs as well in 5 games after Strasburg had pitched so heroically, even though he was sick in Game 4. So many of those memories that were so crucial to building a bond between something new and a town. And he was the steward over that as the general manager. And really, I'm telling you guys, a guy's guy, like everybody that was around Mike or had a chance to, have a couple of beers with Mike or hang out with Mike, he was a good guy. But there were reasons. His drafting record, 2012 through 2021, disastrous drafting and developing. Trade-wise, phenomenal. So he was on with the Junkies this morning. You heard him answering the question on, and without really answering it, did the Lerners give you an ultimatum to fire Davey Martinez? It sounds, but based on his answer, if you're reading tea leaves, that perhaps they did. He was also asked, did you feel handcuffed by ownership in free agency? Here's what he said.
The secret of being a good executive and a good general manager is you do the best you can for what you have. And we all have we've all gone through this, whether you're in baseball or in life in general. You do the best with what you have, and we didn't in ownership's eyes, we didn't do enough with it, and so they made a change.
All right, so I got 2 questions for you, Mike, and I'm gonna preface this by saying I'm a fan of the team before I am a radio host. So I've always taken the position, and maybe I'm dumb, I actually think I am dumb, but beyond that, like, I've always just taken this position that, okay, it makes sense to me. Maybe ownership and management, whatever, decided we're not going to invest a lot of money in this team right now as we rebuild. And as we get closer, we're going to start spending money again, like we did back in the day, when Ted was around. Will ownership, in your opinion, spend money again to make this team competitive, or are we going to become the Pirates? Because as a fan, that's like, I can't even fathom that.
Yeah, I mean, without taking a shot at the Pirates, they haven't won in since 1979. So
right.
We've had very very current successes, a long streak of them. We had a really 8-9 year run of it.
No doubt, no doubt.
And I think that separates us from, but you
in the future though
to lump us into a group that hasn't won in years and hasn't been competitive in years. I think that it's a false narrative. To answer your question, I hope they do.
Right.
To me, it's a smart business move to do, because when it's time to go, you should go. And
all right, how about this?
That doesn't mean to pour in, hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars on the free agent market alone, but make trades, take on contracts, do a Gio Gonzalez trade and extend them for a long term and that type of thing. So there's ways to do this the right way for extended success, and I think that there's a blueprint on how to do it already written in the files in Nationals Park.
That, by the way, is feisty Italian Mike Rizzo, whose grandfather Vito was a semi-pro baseball player back in the day, saying, don't lump us in with the Pirates. They haven't won since 79. We are family, those Pirates. We won a World Series title and for 8 years participated in the postseason 5 times. I love that part of the answer. But he also essentially implied, look, there are ways to do it because we did it without being the biggest spending team in baseball. Lastly, they asked him about this criticism. I'm not saying it's new because if you followed the team, this has been, for the analytics people, they have discussed the Nats as way behind the times when it comes to data-driven decision-making, analytics, etc. So he was asked about what he thought about those that think the Nats need to be more analytically and data-driven.
I know you're sensitive to this idea that the Nats are behind the curve analytically. What do you have to say to people, and especially even some quotes from some
in the media too,
some guys saying, hey, it's going to be totally different now, right? They're going to embrace analytics more. What do you say to that?
Embrace analytics, embrace scouting, embrace whatever you have to embrace. You got to win. And if you win 4 divisions in 6 years and you win a world championship in 8 years, then you succeeded. And if you didn't, all the computers and all the scouts and all the development people in the world have failed. And there's a lot of ways to win in this game, and there's a lot of ways to build championship rosters. And when you have people with smart ideas and diverse opinions, and that I think that's the healthiest thing you could have. We had it here, and I think that's the reason we had such success in the organization.
Mike Rizzo on with the Junkies earlier this morning. You can listen to the whole thing by going to the 106.7 The Fan website. How do people listen to that interview? Is by going to the Junkies on Twitter and linking to it, Max?
You can go on the Odyssey app.
I should know. It's pretty bad.
No,
my
you're
fault.
Good. You can go on the Odyssey app and play it back anytime with the playback.
The
feature.
Odyssey app, of course. Yep. Yeah. Okay. It was a good interview. Mike, ducked a lot, but also you could tell, and they asked the questions that would at least give him a chance to go on, and you could tell how he kind of really felt. I wish him the best, and I wish the new people the best. Meantime, by the way, they did start last night with their new interim manager, Miguel Cairo, and their new interim GM, Mike DiBartolo, and they lost 4-2 in St. Louis in that first game without him. James Wood, another RBI, even though he struck out 3 times. All right, when we come back, yesterday, somebody very important to this DMV area passed away, too young. We'll talk about him with one of his longtime friends and even going way back in the day, competitors next. Kevin Sheehan Show, the Team 980 and the team980.com.
All right, here's what's trending. Chet Holmgren has agreed to a rookie max extension with the Oklahoma City Thunder with 5 years and worth up to $250 million. Tampa Bay Bucks left tackle Tristan Wirfs will begin the season on the PUP list following a knee injury sustained last season. He will miss the first 4 games. And the Nats, they fall to the Cardinals by a score of 4-2. Jake Irvin goes 6 innings with getting 3 strikeouts and giving up 3 hits. CJ Abrams went 2 for 4 with 2 singles. The Nats continue their series in St. Louis tonight. 7:45 is the first pitch. Nats on deck with Charlie and Dave at 7:15 on The Fan. This update is sponsored by the Team 980 YouTube page. Just open the app, type in the Team 980, hit subscribe. Kevin Sheehan is live from 10 to 1 and Craig Hoffman from 4 to 7. Don't forget to like the stream and turn on notifications to stay up to date on all things DC sports. And that is what's trending.
Yesterday, Tim Strachen passed away at the age of 49 years old. So many people in our community know Tim, worked with Tim, competed against Tim back when he was in high school before his very tragic accident, which put him in a wheelchair for the rest of his life when he was in a body surfing accident in Bethany Beach before his senior year in high school. I got a chance to get to know Tim over the years, called a couple of Maryland football games when Johnny couldn't make them, 3 of them, in fact, and loved working by his side. And he passed away yesterday, and it's a hurt for a lot of people, including his best friend for a long time, not just a friend, but a competitor when you go all the way back to Kevin Ricka's days at St. John's when Tim was legitimately one of the top 2 or 3 quarterback prospects in the country with Peyton Manning. It was basically in a lot of the, when you looked at a lot of the 93 high school rankings, it was Peyton 1, Tim Strachen 2. He was a phenomenal athlete, phenomenal all-around athlete before that accident, before his senior year in high school. But Kevin competed against him. Tim was at DeMatha playing for, by the way, one of the great coaches ever in Bill McGregor. Also played for Morgan Wooten, played basketball. I mean, you're talking about a guy who played for 2 Hall of Fame coaches in 2 different sports. Kevin joins us right now. So the first thing, Kevin, obviously, is I'm so sorry for the loss. I know how many of you are hurting. And by the way, let me just send my condolences out to, Rich, who I've gotten to know a little bit, and Mary, his parents, and Leslie, the kids, and Brett, Bo, Pooh, all of the members of the Strachen family. But sorry for the loss, but I wanted to have you on because nobody knew him better and could talk about Tim better than you could. So what are your thoughts today?
Well, I appreciate you having me on here, Kevin, to talk about the man, and we could go on for hours, and we have been for the last week over at Sibley Hospital. Not a great venue for that, but the stories were tremendous nonetheless, and I'm glad you mentioned all the Strachen family, what strength and resolve they showed, and let me be the first one to say Miss Leslie Strachen was the strength, the MVP, the anchor. She ran the show, and their love story was a beautiful one, and I got front row seats to that this week, so I wanted to make sure we started off with Mrs. Leslie Strachen being tough as nails. She was remarkable. So,
I think a lot of people listening that certainly know Tim's story. And look, he called football games with Johnny, Maryland football games for years. I mean, he's been working with you calling WCAC games for years, and he was really good. And I got a chance just on a couple of occasions to work with him and really enjoyed it. But a lot of people want to know what Tim was, as a man for sure, but let's go back to what a great athlete he was. He's one of the better all-around athletes this area's ever produced. What was he like as a football player and as a basketball player, as an all-around athlete back in the early 90s?
Well, I got to tell you, Kevin, back in the early 90s, I didn't have a clue because I just wanted to beat him, and I thought about beating him every day. That guy was a big, huge dude. He was a
big
child when we were kids.
Yeah.
He was, and I wasn't. But as a competitor, you have to think you're the best. You have to at all times, or why show up? And it took me until after college, coming back and putting film in, I said to my dad, why didn't someone tell me how much better T was than I was at the quarterback position? Holy moly. But as a basketball player, that was my first love. And T and I just played relentless hoops. We played in a game against each other at American University. DeMatha was undefeated, had a 40-game win streak, 30-0 the year before, number 1 team in the country. And T and I, he guarded me. Morgan Wooten put him in against his old buddy to guard him. Little head games out of Coach Wooten versus Coach Gallagher. And it was pretty remarkable that we were actually guarding each other on the basketball court at that level. And growing up with T, switch hitter, barreled up everything from the left side oppo. This dude had a beautiful swing, hated the sport. It was way too slow for him. It was not his thing, but he could have done that anywhere. Would have been a Division I basketball scholarship 2-guard had he not played football. Under the tutelage of Morgan Wooten, I don't think anyone's doubting that.
It's really incredible because we know, and everybody that remembers Tim as a high school athlete, and you do much more than people who are a little bit older like I do. I was just watching occasionally How good of a college quarterback would he have become at Penn State?
Well, let me first off and say he would have been playing in the league. I've been riding around with him one way or another in a limousine on Super Bowl weekend for years, whether he was playing in it or we were just partying, because he was that level. He would have been an immediate impact player at Penn State. Brilliant football brain. Perfect.
Did he commit to Penn State? I forget. Did he commit to Penn State or not?
He did not commit to Penn State, but I will say this. I heard you talking about Peyton Manning earlier. We're over at Brian McCarthy's house, a high school All-American football receiver, son of Brendan McCarthy.
Yeah.
The math is just amazingness there. We're over at his house, and T gets a call from Rich Strachen, and T's all bent out of shape, and he's stammering around the pool house, and he's mad. Peyton, we all thought was going to Ole Miss, and T had an amazing visit down at Tennessee, and his dad called to say Peyton just committed to Tennessee. And T was all torn up about it, but Kevin, I reminded him that Gettysburg and Catholic University were really vying over my Division III services at the time.
Well, it's a good thing Catholic won that battle, because you're one of the all-time, I think you're still the all-time leading passer in Catholic football history. So,
well, let's just say I wasn't following where Peyton was going.
Yeah. So you think he would have been playing in the league, and that's the thing about people who got to know Tim later in life. Obviously, for obvious reasons, he was 6'4", like 220 as a high school quarterback, right?
He was a tank. I mean, he was as a sophomore. He was always bigger than everybody. He really was just that size. If you see this picture of him on in a gray T-shirt playing 7-on-7 at 17 years old, he is a horse, man. His legs are trunks. He was the prototype. He threw the ball with such feathery touch, but if he needed a little zip on it, he could. And I've been in a huddle with this guy. I mean, he there is not one variable you could have told me aside from injury, and unfortunately, that's exactly what held him up from getting to the top, to the apex of the sport that he loved the most.
We're talking to Kevin Ricca. Kevin, in his own right, was a phenomenal athlete from the DMV, went to St. John's, then is truly one of the all-time great players in the history of Catholic football. Tim Strachen passed away yesterday. He had been sick with cancer for about a year, and Tim was one of the best athletes to ever play sports in the DMV at DeMatha in the early 90s before his accident that paralyzed him in the summer before his senior year. And as mentioned, I mean, he and Peyton were basically, 1-2 in terms of quarterbacks in that class. Tim was so good on the broadcasts, and he's worked with you on a lot of WCAC broadcasts, football and basketball. He never let his situation sort of deter him from telling a great story and being so inspirational as a storyteller and speaker. Did you ever think, because I remember working with him occasionally, and I'm like, man, you would have been a hell of a coach. Why do you think he didn't pursue that more, passionately?
I think he was having such a good time calling games with the legendary Johnny Holiday. And, T didn't get that typical college experience when we all got to get away. He lived at home for a majority of the time, the entire time, and commuted down to College Park. So I think getting out on the road for some of those road games, he just fell in love with it. And the relationship he had with Johnny Holiday, I think he always thought he could coach or he would coach. And I think with T, life just happened, when his gorgeous daughters, Sophie and Livy, were born. That kind of put a little hitch in that as well. But he has a coach's mentality and brain, and that's exactly right. The way he sees the sport, Kevin, it slows down for him. And he's able to analyze it in a specific quarterback brain. And T is one of the smartest guys I've ever known. And you pair that up with football smarts, and he had plenty of it. He could have been an incredible coach, and I really wish he would have. I'd love to have done it with him.
Yeah, became a lawyer as well. I mean, just an incredible life, just far too short. But his adversity, he obviously was able to do a hell of a lot with it. An incredible person, and really sorry to hear the news yesterday. And I wish you the best, and thinking about all of you guys. Thanks for doing this, Kevin. Much appreciated.
Well, Kevin Sheehan, I just want you to know, thank you very much. I did this because T and I are big fans of yours and what you do, and a great guy in the community, a big-time Woods Academy guy, and I did it because we're fans of yours, and I knew T would appreciate that. So,
Kevin,
thank you very
thanks
much for having me on here today, my man.
Yeah, I'll see you soon, and we'll certainly toast to to T's life. Again, to his family, his parents, Mary and Rich, his wife, Leslie, the kids, to his brothers who I've known for a while, Brett and Bo and Pooh. My condolences to all of you. What a life, just far too short. All right, that is it for the day. I will leave you with this. That alt uniform, the 4th, it's going to be the black alt uniform. And I think I'm going to be right, Max. I think it's going to be on Monday Night Football
I hope you
against
are.
Chicago.
I really hope you are. It's exciting.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm going to be right about that. Let's just say that, I got some information about 15, 20 minutes ago. Tim Strachen, loved the time that I was able to spend with you. Rest in peace. Back tomorrow, everybody.